how do we even know that will it end here, and is it the right time to start building the portfolio, or will it reverse from these levels? So today we've seen some breather, right?
Yeah, I mean, the market never goes in one direction for prolonged periods of time. I mean, there is a lot of volatility. There'll be days which are down days, and there'll be days which are up days. But I expect that the next few weeks and maybe next quarter is going to be full of these ups and downs and full of this volatility. I think I would like all our viewers to understand one thing, that when there is volatility, means that on a day the index goes up 5%, next day again down 5%, then again 10% up, then 3% down. So it's not maintaining a particular direction, it's going in both directions consistently. That's what we call volatility, right? Because one direction down or one direction up, that's very low volatility. But when the volatility is very high, practically what it means? Practically what it means is that the market participants are not able to form a view, or they are not able to get a handle of that, whatever has happened in the background, how devastating or how serious is it. So on one fine day people think that okay, it's not that bad, and then some news comes and next day people think, oh, this is terrible, and then yet another day somebody says, oh, there is a cure for this epidemic, and then so huge swings on both sides means there is a lot of uncertainty, and the people in the market are not able to form their opinion of how good or how bad this whole thing is. And just the way markets get stretched on the upside, the same way markets do get crumbled on the downside. So I don't think this is a time to form opinions. This is not a time to form conclusions. Just imagine you are going to buy a house, next building, let's say you want to buy a house. You come and I'm the seller. You come and ask me, sir, what's the price of this house? I say 7 crores. Next day you come and tell me, okay, here's a check for 7 crores, let's do the deal. I say, no, now it's 9 crores. So then you say, okay, sorry, it's not possible. Then 15 days later I call you and say, okay, buddy, now it's 6 crores. Again you come with me, take a check, and I say, no, sorry, can you pay me 6.25 crores? Do you think a deal will happen?
It will never happen. I mean, how does one come to a...
Yeah, that's because there is no market out there, right? People are still trying to figure out. Every day things are changing. It's in a flux.
Let me pause you here. I mean, this is very easy for people to imagine in case of a real asset.
No, but what I was trying to drive you is that the price which is being quoted is not a real price. Don't form conclusion based on, if the market is going 5% up and 5% down, every day it is yo-yoing, don't take that price for what it is. Don't form judgment of how well or how badly your portfolio is doing based on prices which are monkeying around, because there's no real price. So I think my question was more related to this, that is it going to be like this? What is going to happen? So I just want to clarify, next couple of months maybe there will be volatility, but don't form conclusions based on what is happening with this volatility.
That day, on that price.
Yeah, because there's no market. This price is not real. Don't form an opinion on this.
Okay.
It's something for traders, but this doesn't work for investors.
So that distinct, line to be drawn in terms of how you think in terms of your money. Are you a day-to-day investor, or are you going to look at it from long term?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now coming to this, very interesting and I think a pertinent question in terms of the segment of the funds that people had chosen. The balanced funds as a category was the darling of these of a large section of investors for a pretty long period of time, and some of it was sold or recommended to people who needed a regular income as well. Some of it was also recommended as an alternative to an FD or an alternative to fixed income, or an alternative to some retiree or a pensioner who basically needs a regular income. The question really is that I had a 5-year goal. I'm 3 years into my SIP. I am either flat or negative. I have just 2 years to go. What do you tell such an investor? I mean, he started off with this classical, very well thought out 5-year equity SIP, and he was doing very well just before the flash crash. And how does one maintain that sanity?
Generally the 5-year thought process is very clear that why do you say that you should invest in equity for 5 years? First of all, there is no science behind the 5 years. Generally it is believed that if you take many years of rolling data, you find that it's very rare that the index is negative for a 5-year
Yes.
window of
Rolling return.
rolling. Yeah, when you take a rolling data, every day you see what was the 5-year return. It's very rare that a 5-year window shows that somebody is below the water. But that frankly, that logic doesn't apply to an SIP, because I'll give you an example that you make a 5-year SIP. For the first couple of years, things are okay. The 3rd year and the 4th year, the market shoots up, and the 5th year, the market falls. So obviously, the first 2 years, your SIPs have gone at a certain level. In the 3rd year and the 4th year, you keep buying expensive, and in the 5th year, it crashes. So I don't think that science doesn't apply really to SIPs, if you ask me. So so this 5-year logic, maybe it applies to lump sum investments that at the end of 5 years you don't end up generally losing. But 5-year logic applied to SIP is very different. If you have a 5-year goal and you do a 5-year SIP, then by the time your last installment goes in, it's time to come out. Right. So I think that this goal planning needs a bit more careful consideration. But anyway, on your question, what should these people do? I think there is no doubt. I mean, someday there will be a bad patch in the market, which is why you actually do SIP in the first place, because that's the very nature of markets. And in fact, these are the times, if you keep investing there, they have the potential to take you to your goal even faster. Because you see, I was telling you a moment before that if you do SIP and the market keeps going up and it crashes in the last year, then you lose out in a big way. But for bulk of your tenure, if the market is low or hitting lows, and then you actually see an upside, then I think it's going to be quite spectacular. So let's say if somebody started in 2019 or mid 2018 from where the downtrend started. So mid 2018 means last 18 to 20 months you've been investing in a downtrend consistently. You keep investing and your 5 years is coming in 2023. I think it could turn out to be fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, if your goal was to go in economy class, you might end up in business actually. I won't be surprised.
So, but the general notion is, the average SIP return has been 12% plus in equity,
Yeah.
and now I'm just 2 years away. Should I move into debt and then secure the next 2 years?
No,
so
goals-
these kind of, I think it's more about,
See, never, I don't think that, this 5 years meaning it's not like point to point you take 60 months. I mean, goals need flexibility. In the stock market, 6 months before or 6 months later can make a hell lot of a difference. I mean, you look at it right now, somebody, if they had withdrawn their money on 20th January or 30th January versus somebody looking to withdraw right now, the difference is on a lump sum basis 20-25%. And I don't think this will remain like this 2 months later. So let's not jump. So goals need to be a bit flexible. One needs to be practical and not to jump to conclusions, because like I said before, these prices are not for real. Don't make conclusions based on the prices you see right now.
Well, now coming to, I think it's related more to fear that, every day or every night I sleep looking at the Dow. The Dow future is negative.
Yeah.
And when I wake up, I look at SGX in pre-market.
Yeah.
When I look at the Nifty, it opens up gap down, or
Yeah.
it's in a free fall.
Yeah.
4-5% on the Nifty is something which a few of these investors who would have come in, probably 2 years or 3 years in their journey would have never seen
Yeah.
a 4-5% correction on a Nifty on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So this set of investor typically over the last 2 years has seen their investment, accumulate to a certain amount, and then suddenly it's falling every day.
Yeah.
So they are like, either I book losses right now, go out completely and re-enter later when things look better. Should I do nothing, or what theory do I apply when I choose any of the above?
So see, first of all, any investor or any subscriber or any of our viewers who has asked this question, like they have said in spirituality and our elders, they say that look within. First, they need to figure out whether they're investors or traders, because typically the traits which are being described are like a trader's behavior.
Okay.
If you're an investor, who has goals for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, if you're not a short-term guy, then why do you need to look at SGX? Let us say, for example, I have invested 100 rupees 2 years back. Let's say the value of the 100 is right now 80, and my goal is after 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
No,
Then how will it help?
I agree, Ashish, but I think it's more about tolerance, right? I mean, these guys, I'm relating to them in that sense that they would have filled out some risk questionnaire, and that would have said that how much of volatility can you tolerate? And
Yeah.
while answering that, a person is very practical about it. But
Yes.
when it happens,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
I think that's when you get tested.
No, so my request is that stick to what you invested for.
Right.
Because ups and downs in the market are part of the investing journey. My humble suggestion is that the traits of checking prices every day. See, who does that is because, let's say, people who have to react to these situations. Who has to react to these situations are people who are short-term investors or what we call traders, right? For the rest of the people who are actually investors, for them it's a distraction at best, and more importantly, like I said, all these things need to be checked by people who need to respond or react to these occurrences.
So you mean
for the rest of the people,
you mean the advisor community, they
no,
should
the traders. The traders should be actually checking and reacting to these things. The traders should check prices because they have to react and act on those prices. But investors, when they check those things, it's not relevant, but more importantly, it might end up making you also react. Right? What I've seen is that most investors, they underestimate their time horizon of investing and they overestimate their need for liquidity. When 100 rupees has become 80 rupees, if you keep checking prices and if it forces you to react, like for example, your question said, there was a question which said, should we move out?
Yeah.
The thought, where does the thought of moving out come from? The thought of moving out comes from the very thing which I said, because you're checking prices too often, it is making you think that, oh, should I do something about this?
Yeah, so
Whereas actually you're not supposed to do anything about it, and in fact, if you're an investor, you're supposed to add at these prices. Because it's not normal for you to get some HDFC Bank and Kotak Bank at 40-50% discount. It never happens. Like for example, people say quality comes at a price, or sometimes people say on Twitter and social media, I follow people say, these stocks are never expensive. I mean, these stocks are never cheap. Well,
They
yes,
will always
once
be
in 10 years
expensive.
they do get cheap, but then at that time you need to be around.
In fact, the next line or the next thought process is exactly on that. I always believe in buying it more at dips.
Yeah.
And I have deployed all my surplus cash which I had
Yeah.
in the last few days, and
Yeah.
there was a big dip in the last few days.
Yes.
So I'm only left with my emergency funds.
Yeah.
But now I'm anxious. How long will it take to recover?
No, first of all, congratulations.
That you have an emergency.
Yeah, because
fund.
because you kept investing when the thing was
Okay.
going down. You captured some of the downsides.
Which is nice.
And yes, you're right that somebody who's so well sorted and well thought
Even
out,
as an emergency
that you
fund.
have an emergency fund which is separate, you have additional cash, you invest it when it deploys. Don't worry about catching the bottom. I don't think it's possible to catch the bottom. But the fact that you have the ability and the courage to invest when prices are falling. Because like I said in the previous question also, people think that these great companies are never available cheap. I know for a fact they're available cheap once in a decade, and at that time you need to be around. And this gentleman or lady who has asked this question
Yes.
has been around at the right time. So kudos for investing at an appropriate juncture. I don't think it's possible to catch the bottom, and I don't think anybody can catch the bottom. But I think in the last few days we've been around that kind of scenario of being near the bottom. It can take another 2-3 months for the situation to start to get normalized, because this virus, see, the virus and the economy and the markets are two different things. The virus is something which I think over a period of next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, like it happened for China, South Korea, Taiwan, lot of these markets, ultimately at some point in time there'll be a semblance of control. But by the time that gets sorted, of course the economy and economic growth has been dented. Now, in anticipation that the economy might get dented by the time the virus is sorted, globally, governments and central banks have kind of sprung into action to ensure that while we control the virus, that's a different battle, but the impact on the economy is a different battle, and by the time this battle is won, the other one should not go beyond repair. So if you see, most economies and central banks are fighting both together. So my sense is that in the next 3 to 6 months, you will see a semblance of normalization where things will start looking better. So if you have invested, don't try to get to the bottom. Keep investing if you can, and don't worry about the immediate term.
Since you brought in the economy, I mean, how much of GDP will we lose? Maybe 1 quarter, 2 quarter, and that
Yeah.
whatever percentage points that we lose
Yeah.
of the GDP growth.
Yeah.
I mean, does that mean that, will that be able to justify the discounts that some of these stocks are
Yeah, I
trading?
mean, it appears, I mean, we have to talk with whatever current information available to us. It appears that there will be a couple of quarters of disruption, different points in time for different countries across the world. Two things to keep in mind. First of all, this market fall is not about India. Let's not confuse that. I was reading somewhere that South Korea, which has supposedly got control over the virus or has a good trend as far as the virus is concerned, they themselves are 33% down since the beginning of the year. So are we. So this is not about India. That's the first thing. So don't draw conclusions on your investment or Indian market based on what is happening. It's all panic in the Western world. That's first. Second, coming to your question, yes, it can dent the economy and economic growth for say a quarter or two.
Right.
But that's already in the prices. Why are so many of these stocks 40-50% down? So just like they overreact on the upside, they kind of overreact on the downside.
Very cliched, lump sum or SIP?
Yeah, I already answered that. It's time to gulp. You continue your SIPs, but if you have disposable, then you gulp.
Great. Last couple of things. Something on retirement. I mean, people, when they enter, they are very long-term investors and they are here for the retirement, right?
Yeah.
But disruptions like this or, massive swings like this.
See, I think there will be a lot of youngsters who are listening to us. I want to clarify to them that retirement planning is not for retired people. Yeah, I hope people understand. Retirement planning is not for retired people. The people who are watching us right now, they are the ones who need to plan for the retirement. That is first. Second is that even when people talk about retirement, there's no such thing that if you retire at 60 or 65, you have to suddenly become very conservative. Because if you retire at 65, you don't have to plan for 70 or 75. The oldest person in the world was what, 120 years or something?
119.
Yeah, 119. So if the oldest person in the world is 119, then you at least need to plan for 100 or something.
No, eventually, I think the way the life expectancy in
Yeah,
India
it will
is
go up.
going up,
Yeah,
and
it will go up.
it's gone up significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, we are
So-
talking about, if let's say even if you retire at 65, you're talking of 20 more years of supporting
At least
yourself.
30-35 years more, actually. So it's about, you need to invest in equity, you need to invest for long term. These are the times, when the SIPs need to be taken advantage of. And if you run away at these times, then there's no point talking about retirement planning.
Yeah.
All these, like somebody said, all past corrections look like missed opportunities, except this one.
So, coming to the last question in this series, and again, this is for a person who has seen the market, seen the cycles.
okay.
This is from the perspective of someone who has actually lost money only from my profits. So
Yeah.
I have lost money from my profits and not from my principal. And I
Capital.
congratulate.
Yeah.
I'm sure this cohort might be in a minority.
Yeah.
But he's still on positive side, and for him to think that the wait is over and whether he should move now to other asset classes or how bad the virus situation can go.
No, I think that if somebody who's an experienced investor then obviously knows that when there is an upswing, what kind of profits can be made and how it overdoes it on the downside. I think you should not only stay committed, you should actually add more because you already have proof of the pudding. And I don't think there is any other asset class which can compensate for what equity can actually make. So no doubts about it. I think they need to stay committed. Maybe they need to add more.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.